So tonight's video on lesson 9.5 is finding the area of shapes that are not rectangles. Remember, this is just a little review from today. If we have a rectangle, we would measure the sides. So in this case, the base right here would be 3 centimeters and the height would be 2. And the formula for area of a rectangle is equal to the base times the height. So in this case, because this is a rectangle, I'm just going to make sure I do this so that we know that that formula applies to rectangles. I would go 2 times 3, which is 6, and that gives me the area. 6 square centimeters is the area. So for the rest of the whole video or screencast, we're going to assume that each one of these squares, the area of it would be 1 square centimeter. So let's see what we can do. We'll come up with a method here. The first one is that we would continue this like so, and what you can see is you now have a rectangle. In this case it happens to be a square, but it's still a rectangle. And what we can do, once we draw the rectangle around this, we can see that this creates 2 equal congruent triangles. So all we have to do then is calculate what is the area of this rectangle and then cut it in half, because there are 2 triangles inside the rectangle. So if I look at this one and I go 1, 2, 3, and since you can see that it's a square, we know that the formula for the area will be 3 times 3. So area equals base times height, and this is for the rectangle rather. And so the area in this case is going to equal 3 times 3, or 9 square centimeters. So if that's true, that the whole thing equals 9, then half of the square, let's see if I can extend the page. Okay, then down here, half of the square is equal to half of this number, so it would be 4.5 square centimeters. And therefore you have just calculated that each one of these triangles, this size would be 4.5 square centimeters. Okay, so let's see if we can apply that same method to, now in this case we had a right angle here, which makes it really easy because if you recall, all rectangles have 4 right angles, so this makes it nice and easy. But in this case, that didn't work out quite as simple. We can't just divide it in half somewhere because we don't have a right angle in here. It's not a right triangle. But we're going to use the same method just a little bit differently. So I'm going to take my pen and create, there's one rectangle, and then I'm going to create another one over here. Okay, so let's start first with this rectangle on the left. So I'm going to use the color green. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So it's actually the exact same size of square as this one right here. So this is going to be 3 times 3, which is 9, and we're going to just divide that in half. So we know that this half and this half each equals 4.5 square centimeters. Okay, so this part right here, I'll just shade a little bit of that green, that is equal to 4.5 square centimeters. So let's move on to the other triangle here. Give it a different color, and this time this rectangle is 2 by 1, 2, 3. I don't think I can squeeze the centimeters in there. Yeah, maybe I'll do it below. So 2 times 3, that means this entire rectangle right here would be 6 square centimeters. So all we have to do is figure out what's half of 6, and that's 3. So this part right here, 3 square centimeters. So the blue part is 3 square centimeters. And now all we have to do is add those up. So we've got 4.5 plus 3, which gives us 7.5 square centimeters for the entire triangle. So this is called the rectangular method for figuring out the area of a triangle. All right, so the next method will work for interesting triangles like this one that doesn't work as neatly as the other two did. So, because if you can see right here, if I were to draw a rectangle right here, you get parts over here and you get parts over here. So instead, we're going to draw a rectangle around the entire thing. We're going to figure out all the parts around it and subtract that from the total area of the rectangle to figure out what's inside, or the area of this particular triangle. So in this case, we start and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can see that this is a square. It's got 4 on each side. So we know that the area is equal to base times height. And because it's a square, we know it's going to be, area is 4 times 4. So the area of the rectangle is equal to 16 square centimeters. So that's where we start. And now what we're going to do is calculate and figure out, let's just take a look at this line right here. It completely splits the square in half, okay? And so we have 2 right triangles, one on either side. So remember, we're not figuring this triangle out yet. We're just figuring out everything around it. So let's start with this. We can figure out what's in here. So this half of that rectangle is just going to be exactly half of the 16. So the area for this part right here, the green, I'm just going to say part instead of triangle, is equal to 8 square centimeters. And then let's come over here and let's color this red. Next one we want to figure out is this one right here. And if I take my pen and create a rectangle right here, once again I can see that this splits this rectangle into 2 equal triangles. So let's figure out what is the area of the red rectangle first. And that would be, you can see this is just 1 times 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 times 4 is 4 square centimeters. So we're going to split that in half so we can calculate this part right here. There we go. So the area of the red part is equal to 2 square centimeters. All right, so now we know 3 things. We know the total area. I'm going to write that up here so we're not confused about what this stands for. This is the area of the rectangle. Actually, let's just call it a square. That'll even make it even clearer because we're figuring out lots of rectangles. But we are figuring out right now the area of the entire square. So I'm going to just say, put an arrow there, and we're going to say square, so we know that that 16 represents the area of the square. We also know that the green part now, we know that's 8 square centimeters, and this red part over here is 2 square centimeters. So now all we have to do, I'm going to use black here, to figure out our actual triangle, which is this one right here, so everything that's inside of here, to figure out that black triangle, we're going to take the 16 and then we are going to subtract from it these 2 added together because that's what's everything else besides the triangle. So I'm just going to say 16 minus 8 plus 2. Okay, I could also just add these up and say 16 minus 10. It's the same thing. So 16 minus 10 is 6, So we know that the area of our black triangle, the one that we started trying to figure out, is 6 square centimeters. So that is this other approach. That's how you use this method. So I'm going to scroll or click over to the next slide. And I want you to try these on your own. So using the rectangle method, and you can go back and refer to the previous examples, I want you to figure these two out, and we'll discuss the solutions for these in class tomorrow.